Hi, this is going to be one of those sloppy videos because again I haven't put too much planning into it, but I'd like to talk to you about taste today. And let me take you back to my childhood. You know, that's strange. Why am I talking about my childhood? There's a strange connection there, but you'll see soon. When I was a child, you know, I grew up in Turkey. I lived there up until I was 19 years old. And when I went to cinema theaters, you know, in those days, in those years, there were ushers in cinema theaters, and sometimes we were late and it was dark and you couldn't see anything. You had to walk in. And then the funny thing about ushers were that they were a bit rude, especially to children. You know, for some reason they wanted tip always. And imagine, like, you're a teenager or even less than that, you know, you're a 10-year-old kid. Actually, not 10 years. Okay, I was like 11, 12 years old. You go to cinema, movies, cinema theater, whatever you call it. And then you're there, and then these people want tip. You hardly have a couple of cents in your pocket, you know, with which you're going to buy soda drinks or whatever you're going to drink. Or sometimes not even that. You hardly bought your ticket, and they want, you know, tip from you just for. They don't even walk with you to your place, you know, they just show it with, they had these flashlights, and then they would just point to your seat and, okay, you go sit over there. And especially if you're a kid, they didn't care at all. They were a bit rude. Not all of them, but most of them were like that, unfortunately. They were trying to make a living, and somehow their idea of tip was the money they get when they force you. And if you say, hey, I don't have any money to give you, they would say, okay, your seat is over there, go sit. You know, and then you had to walk in the dark like this, you know, you didn't know where you were going. But sometimes what we had to do, because nobody was pointing the flashlight, that we would wait at the side a bit. It was dark, we couldn't see at first, but then slowly our eyes begin to see everything. You know, they were conditioned to see in the dark now because they've been for a couple of minutes. Then, okay, we could see some empty seats, or if we need seats, so the numbers, then we could just count and read and go and sit into our seats. And that's how it worked in those days. At least in the cities where I live. I don't know other cities. But anyway, so the lesson here, this is going to be very interesting. You see how I'm going to connect it. That if we waited a bit in the dark, our eyes got used to the dark, and then they adjusted themselves, and suddenly that dark wasn't anymore like, even though it was dark, we could still see in the dark. You know, our vision got better or something. So the same thing happens with the taste. We have taste buds. But if we bombard ourselves with all that taste, if we add too much sugar, if we add too much salt in our food, all these taste adders, you know, when we use too much of them, we get used to that. It's just like too much light. When there is too much light, if you walk into some place which is a bit dark, you suddenly can't see anything, you know, you bump into things and all that. But if you wait a bit, not much, just a little bit, you suddenly realize, hey, I can see now. I don't really need all that light, you know, fluorescence and whatever. So same deal here. When you're eating, when you're using too much sweeteners, too much sugar, too much salt, too much, I don't want to talk, actually, some of the spices, you know, hot spices are healthy, so I'm not going to get into that. But again, you know, too much of anything is bad, actually. That is, ultimately, that's the truth. But if you cut the sugar or any sweeteners, and if you begin to eat food without any added taste, you realize, and in very short amount of time, mind you, about, I don't know, I would give them a week or maybe 2 weeks. 2 weeks is usually somehow the key to achieve a lot of results. So in this case, if you wait a while, you suddenly realize all the food you eat, especially the natural food, has a taste of its own. You know, suddenly if I eat some kind of green food, which I would consider otherwise tasteless. Even that tastes great. But I couldn't have known it if I was adding all that sugar and whatnot. So that's the suggestion. That's what I'm going to recommend you today. That try lessening all those taste adders, I call them. You know, be it simple table sugar and salt. Don't use too much of them. You know, a little bit of salt, maybe especially some sea salt or some healthy salt you can use because we need the sodium. But too much table sugar, I would just cut off. You know, I wouldn't use table sugar for anything. You can get sugar from a lot of other sources. You don't need table sugar. But anyway, so when you cut that taste adders off your diet, suddenly it's like you are awakened or something. You begin to taste things. You begin to get the real taste. Things like parsley or basil, and fantastic. And you say to yourself, hey, I never knew it could taste this good. And that's the truth. And when you've been using these taste adders all your life, of course now it might be strange or like a lie to you that somebody else talks to you like, oh, you don't need these things. Oh, come on, what are you talking about? You may say that. But actually it's true, because I used to be one of those people. I couldn't eat anything without salt or sugar, especially I couldn't drink anything without sugar. I mean, if I drank tea or coffee, I always needed sugar, and lots of it. I was even proud, you know, I would put a lot of sugar. See everyone, how many sugar cubes I can put in my tea and drink it. I was proud of that. Can you imagine? So, but once I stopped that, now it's very strange. I can't drink anything with sugar. It's very strange to me now. It's too much. Again, it's not, if it was healthy, I would say go for it, but it's not healthy, and the only way to get used to being without them is simply cutting them off your diet. And that's not a suffering at all. You'll see in very short while, suddenly, hey, I don't need this. How could I have been drinking my coffee with sugar all these years? How could I have been drinking my tea with sugar all these years? It's going to feel very strange, but you're going to feel great about it. I promise you that. You just gotta try that. Okay, I think I'm not forgetting anything. Hopefully not. I'll see you on the next video, okay? See ya. Bye-bye.